The news hit me like a freight train, derailing the course of my life. Liam's face bore the weight of the revelation he had just dropped, a mix of apprehension and determination. "We're moving in with Mom," he declared, his words hanging in the air like an unspoken challenge. "Why?" I managed to stammer, still processing the abruptness of the announcement. Liam sighed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "Dad's gone, Alice. Mom's all alone in that big house. We need to be there for her." The implications of his words settled in like a dense fog, obscuring the future I had envisioned for us. "But Liam, we have our own life here," I protested, my mind racing with thoughts of the comfortable routine we had built. He looked at me with pleading eyes. "This is about family, Alice. We can't just turn our backs on Mom when she needs us the most." The following weeks felt like a whirlwind as we packed our lives into boxes and made the journey to Belinda's house. The imposing structure seemed to loom over us, its grandeur a stark contrast to the intimacy of our previous home. The air inside was thick with memories, both comforting and haunting. As we settled into our new surroundings, the clash of expectations and reality became palpable. Belinda, a formidable presence with sharp eyes that missed nothing, greeted us with a stiff smile. "Welcome to my home. I expect you to respect my ways," she declared, setting the tone for the challenges that lay ahead. The tension simmered beneath the surface, erupting in occasional clashes between Belinda and me. One evening, after a particularly heated exchange about the placement of furniture, Liam attempted to mediate. "Mom, can't we find a middle ground here? We're all just trying to adjust." Belinda's gaze remained unyielding. "Adjustment is a two-way street, Liam. Your wife needs to learn her place in this house." I bit my lip, suppressing the frustration bubbling within. This was not the life I had signed up for. The unexpected turn had become a winding road of uncertainty, and I couldn't shake the feeling that more challenges awaited around every corner. The days turned into weeks, and the clash of wills between Belinda and me intensified, each interaction a potential spark for an argument. Belinda's criticisms became a constant background noise, like a relentless drumbeat echoing through the house. One evening, as I attempted to arrange flowers in the living room, Belinda's disapproving voice cut through the air. "Alice, dear, one might think you're trying to arrange a bouquet for a funeral. Can't you add a touch of elegance?" I took a deep breath, attempting to keep my composure. "Belinda, I'm just trying to bring some life into this room." She raised an eyebrow. "Life, dear, is not synonymous with chaos. You should learn to appreciate order." The tension in the room thickened as Liam, caught between his wife and mother, tried to ease the atmosphere. "Come on, Mom, let's not turn this into a big deal. Alice has her own way of doing things." Belinda's eyes narrowed, and that, Liam, is precisely the problem. We're not in her little apartment anymore. This is a house that deserves respect. I could feel frustration building within me, but I bit my tongue, not wanting to escalate the situation further. As the days went by, the clashes continued, from the arrangement of dishes in the kitchen to the choice of curtains in the living room. One evening, after a particularly intense critique of my cooking, I exploded in our room. "I can't do a damn thing right for your mother. It's like living with a drill sergeant." Liam, torn between his loyalty to his wife and his desire to appease his mother, tried to play the mediator. "Alice, just give it time. She's old and set in her ways." I threw my hands up in exasperation. "So we just tiptoe around her till the end of time." Liam, frustrated, threw his hands up. "Damn it, Alice, can't you just try to see the bigger picture here?" Glaring at him, I retorted, I'm looking at the bigger picture, Liam. Our life, our independence, not just playing happy families in that gloomy old house of hers. The argument went in circles, but eventually I caved for the sake of peace, a decision that left a bitter taste in my mouth. The days in Belinda's house turned into a relentless routine, each moment shadowed by the weight of sacrifice. Liam's request for me to quit my job and stay home hung over our heads like a heavy cloud, casting a pallor over the life we once knew. One evening, as the air inside the house grew thick with tension, Liam broached the subject. "Alice, we need to talk." I looked up from the book I was pretending to read, bracing myself for another difficult conversation. "What's on your mind, Liam?" He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "I've been thinking, with Mom needing constant care, it would be better if you quit your job. We're spending a fortune on a nurse and housekeeper, and it just makes more sense if you take care of her full time." My heart sank at the suggestion, the magnitude of the sacrifice hitting me like a punch to the gut. "Quit my job, Liam. I love teaching." "It's not just about the money." Liam ran his hand through his hair, a sign of his own frustration. "I know, Alice, but think about it. It'll make things easier around here. Mom needs us." Anger and disbelief welled up inside me. "So what? I just become a full-time maid and nurse. That's not the life I want." Liam's tone grew edgy. "It's not about what we want, Alice. It's about what's practical. My mom needs us." Glaring at him, I shot back, "No, Liam, your mom needs you. I didn't sign up to be her caretaker." He threw his hands up in frustration. "Well, things change, Alice. We need to adapt." The word adapt felt like a slap. "Adapting is one thing, Liam. This is sacrificing. I love my job, my independence. This isn't adapting. This is losing a part of myself." He sighed, a look of relief crossing his face. "Thank you, Alice. It means a lot." But the victory felt hollow. Quitting my job was not just a practical decision. It was a surrender of my dreams and independence. As the days that followed unfolded, the weight of my decision pressed on me like a constant burden, and the walls of Belinda's house seemed to close in, suffocating me with each passing moment. The unsettling atmosphere within Belinda's house seemed to deepen as Liam's behavior grew increasingly distant. It was as though he had erected an invisible barrier, isolating himself within the confines of his own thoughts. The truth, however, remained concealed beneath the surface, waiting to be unveiled. One lazy Sunday afternoon, I sought solace in the garden, attempting to find a moment of peace amidst the chaos. Liam, leaning on the garden gate, approached me with a weight in his words. "Alice, we need to talk." I looked up, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. "What now, Liam?" He took a deep breath, as if bracing himself for the impact of his words. "I think you should quit your job and stay home. We're spending a fortune on a nurse and housekeeper for Mom." "It makes more sense." Disbelief colored my voice. "Quit my job, Liam? I've already sacrificed so much. How is this even practical?" He ran his hand through his hair, a gesture that had become all too familiar. "I know it's hard, but think about it. It'll make things easier, especially with the late nights I've been working." Anger simmered beneath the surface as I grappled with the weight of his expectations. "So what? I just become a full-time maid, nurse, and now a prisoner in this house?" Liam's tone grew edgy. "It's not about imprisoning you, Alice. It's about doing what's best for everyone. Mom needs us." I shook my head in disbelief. "No, Liam, your mom needs you. I didn't sign up for this." He avoided my gaze, stirring his coffee absent-mindedly. It's not about what we want, Alice. It's about what we need to do. The tension hung in the air like a thick fog, and as I grappled with the reality of my situation, the truth slowly unraveled. In a moment of vulnerability, Liam revealed a secret, an apartment he had purchased near work. It's just practical, Alice. Saves me the commute, especially with the late nights. A surge of anger and confusion washed over me. And you decided this without talking to me. What are we, roommates now? He leaned against the doorframe, avoiding my gaze. It's just practical, Alice. It's what needs to be done. The revelation left me feeling like a pawn in a game of deceit, and the once solid foundation of our relationship crumbled beneath the weight of hidden truths. The secrets unveiled were not just about an apartment, but a betrayal that ran deeper than I had ever imagined. The passing of Belinda cast a somber shadow over the once tumultuous household. As the funeral ended and mourners dispersed, the atmosphere within Belinda's house shifted. The oppressive presence that had filled every corner now seemed to lift, leaving behind a strange mixture of grief and relief. Amidst the subdued grief, a realization struck me. Belinda's passing had not just taken a life, it had exposed the true colors of the remaining family members. Liam and his sister, Elena, saw the loss not as a tragedy, but as an opportunity for financial gain. In the aftermath of the funeral, Elena approached me with an air of calculated nonchalance. Well, looks like we have some matters to discuss now, don't we? Assets, wills, the whole package. I glared at her, my grief mixing with disdain. Can't you show a little decency, Elena? We just buried your mother. She smirked, her eyes devoid of empathy. Decency? This is about practicality, Alice. We need to think about what comes next. Liam, caught in the crossfire, attempted to play mediator. Elena, can we just give it some time? Mom's not even cold in the ground yet. Elena dismissed his plea with a wave of her hand. Time is money, Liam. We can't afford to waste any. The lawyer's office became the battleground for a legal war over Belinda's assets. Every word spoken, every document signed, felt like another nail in the coffin of the family I had once thought was mine. In the midst of legal battles, the divide between family members became more apparent. Loyalties crumbled like old ruins, and what remained was a fragmented family, each member fighting for their perceived share of the spoils. One evening, as the discussions grew more heated, I confronted Liam about his changing priorities. Liam, we're talking about your mother's legacy here, and all you care about is the money? He avoided eye contact, his voice cold. Alice, this is practical. We need to secure our future. My disbelief spilled out in a torrent of words. Secure our future? Your mother just died, and you're talking about securing a future without her, as if she's some inconvenience. Elena, ever the opportunist, chimed in. Well, Alice, not all of us have the luxury to mourn in a fancy house. Some of us need to think about our survival. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. Their true colors were now vividly clear. Belinda's plight was nothing more than an inconvenience, a hurdle in their path to inheritance. The betrayal stung deep, not just as a daughter-in-law, but as a human being witnessing the desecration of a loved one's memory. The echoes of the funeral had barely faded when the battleground shifted to the cold confines of a lawyer's office. The air was thick with tension as we gathered around a table, armed with documents and unspoken resentments. Elena's lawyer, a shark in a tailored suit, spoke with a predatory smile. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to discuss the distribution of Mrs. Belinda's assets as per her will. I exchanged a glance with Liam, a subtle plea for solidarity in the face of the impending storm. But as the lawyer delved into the details, it became clear that solidarity was a distant memory. Liam's gaze remained fixed on the papers before him, his silence a stark contrast to Elena's assertiveness. "Elena, this isn't the time or place to be so aggressive," I whispered, attempting to rein in my frustration. She smirked, her eyes gleaming with a calculated confidence. "Alice, this is precisely the time and place. We need to secure our share before someone else grabs it." The lawyer continued, dissecting the will and highlighting the stipulations left by Belinda. Every word felt like a nail in the coffin of the family I had once considered my own. As the legal battles unfolded, the divide within the family became more pronounced. Loyalties crumbled, and the once united front fractured into factions, each member fighting for their perceived share of the spoils. In the midst of the legal mire, I confronted Liam about his changing priorities. "Liam, we're talking about your mother's legacy here, and all you care about is the money." He looked at me, a shadow of guilt in his eyes. "Alice, it's not that simple. We need to think about our future, too." I scoffed, frustration bubbling to the surface. "Our future? Your mother just passed away, and you're treating her will like some sort of business deal." Elena, ever the opportunist, interjected. "Well, Alice, not all of us have the luxury to mourn in a fancy house. Some of us need to think about our survival." The lawyer's office, once a space of legal negotiations, had transformed into a battlefield of emotions and broken alliances. As the ink dried on the documents, sealing the fate of Belinda's assets, the family I had once known seemed like a distant memory. The legal battles left scars that ran deeper than any court ruling could mend, and the once happy home now stood as a shattered relic of what had been lost. The aftermath of the legal battles left the family fractured, each member nursing wounds that seemed irreparable. Belinda's house, once a symbol of familial togetherness, now echoed with the remnants of broken alliances. Elena and Liam, driven by greed and a distorted sense of entitlement, continued to press their claims to Belinda's assets. As discussions escalated within the cold walls of the lawyer's office, it became apparent that the unity that had once defined us had crumbled beyond repair. One evening, amidst the lingering tension, I confronted Liam about the irreparable damage to our family. "Liam, this is tearing us apart. Is this really what your mother would have wanted?" He avoided eye contact, his voice laced with cynicism. "Alice, this is the reality we're dealing with. We can't afford to be sentimental."